Thanks everyone for joining us for another episode of our Spotlight series brought to you in partnership with Dentons. My name is Juliette Chellaru and I'm the co-founder of Proptech Collective, a not-for-profit community focused on bridging the communication and knowledge silos between the PropTech and real estate worlds. I'm grateful to be joined today by my co-host Kenda Shaheen, who I'll invite to introduce herself.
Hi everyone. For those of you who are joining us for the first time, my name is Kinda and I am a venture lawyer with Dentons here in Toronto. I focus predominantly on working with startups from inception to exit and everything in between.
Thanks, Kenda. And every month we've essentially partnered up with Dentons to highlight the diverse stories of founders, investors, and change-making real estate professionals that are part of the Proptech Collective community to learn more about their experiences and trends that they're seeing in this space. So without further ado, we're thrilled to have Ashley join us, who's a co-founder and chief growth officer at Harbr. Hi, Ashley, how are you?
Hey, I'm good. Thanks so much for having me, guys.
It is our pleasure. So why don't we kick it off with a general question? How about you tell us a little bit more about your journey up to founding Harbr? So what makes you who you are, and tell us a little bit more about your path of how you got here.
Absolutely. So my journey really started back when I decided to shift and leave university and pursue a passion of mine, which was a career in design. This is something since I was very young, I was really interested and drawn towards, but I didn't really know what I was going to do or what the path kind of for a career, what that looked like for me. But I had completed that program and had some interviews and been offered jobs, but the same week that I had finished, I got offered a job at my in-laws' business, which was Kiel Developments. They're a real estate development company here in Halifax. And their office manager, who literally did everything for them, she had sadly been diagnosed with cancer and was unable to work. So they knew I needed a job. I was fresh out of college. So I said, okay, sure, I'll do it and step in. It definitely wasn't what I had envisioned, kind of going from wanting to be in a more creative field at the time. But it was great. And it really gave me the understanding and the insight into the industry and everything that we do at Harbr. So you saw invoices coming in, people calling, coordinating subcontractors, permitting happening, just like the general updates and everything. It was an entirely new world to me. So many moving parts. So that was amazing just for a learning opportunity. I mean, I still got to do a lot of the design stuff on the new construction side of things, multi-res, homes, staging, all that kind of stuff. So it did still fill that cup. And I did also start my own business in conjunction with that called Kiel Home Consulting. So I was hired by Dave Kim, who's a tech entrepreneur here in Halifax, to do a small home design project at his place for him and his wife. And if you've ever done any renovation project or home project, you can understand there's always like miscommunications and headaches and problems that just arise out of nowhere all the time. And we realized kind of working together on that project was that the underlying problem is that a lot of people in the industry aren't speaking the same language. They're working off different sources. And there's just a huge lack of understanding around status, around communication, around verifying what needs to happen. So that is where Harbr was born, at Dave's home. And Dave is one of my co-founders now. So that project really was what got us our wheels turning and us thinking together.
That's awesome. I think it's really interesting to hear from founders about sort of their origination story and how things started. And certainly, like, to our listeners, like, I'm sure anyone who's dealt with a renovation before has dealt with the trials and tribulations of contractors, general contractors, supply issues, certainly during the pandemic. So perhaps you can maybe take us one step forward into the future and tell us what Harbr does. Walk us through what you're doing, and I guess, what prompted the development of the technology that you're using, and perhaps build on sort of the experience that you've told us today.
Yeah, so we knew coming into this space, especially from my experience with Kiel and kind of being in that industry. And then my husband, Jeff, who is also one of our other co-founders, he grew up in this. His dad's been doing construction and development since the early 70s. So he knew even way more than Dave and I about the industry. And we knew it was going to be difficult kind of starting out with our original ideas and products, because there's such low adoption rates when it comes to field technology. It's only around 6%. So there's a ton of softwares out there that are amazing. They're robust. They do so many things, but the people in the field can't be bothered to use them because they're just, quite frankly, too difficult. And it's not really, they're not really made for them. So they just don't do it. So of course, we had so many ideas and we aim to do things better and easier. We're like, oh, we'll figure it out. We'll make it easier. We'll get them to do it. But it wasn't until we realized that we needed to implement something they already knew how to do. And that's when we came up with the text message product. So these people are already on their phones. They know how to send a text message. They know how it works. They know what it does. Harbr even works on flip phones, any phone that can send a text message, which is important. Yeah, so we knew that that would be a huge, huge thing and remove a lot of barriers for us when trying to get the folks in the field to use software, or like, you know, what they thought was software, kind of going to a bigger means. But what happens is they do their progress updates and the reporting through that. It sends to a number, which is a Harbr number, and the bot interacts with what they're saying, and they just do their updates that way. That's it. They can send photos, they can send just general notes, they can send information as pertains to progress, and then it just updates that on the more robust platform side of things that, say, like a project manager, operation, or someone would know how to use and use. So that was like a huge, huge win for us. And kind of a big pivot that also happened earlier this year was not just offering that, not just offering the real-time coordination. We started focusing and are now focused on the approval and payment side of things, because we were able to collect data reliably and easily through the text message product. This is where new opportunities started to be presented, and we were really able to kind of like level up what we were doing. Because if you think about a project, say like a multi-year project, multi-res project, you've got all these trades, you've got all these vendors that are coming and going, and they're working day in and day out. But at the end of the month, they're all doing the exact same thing. They're submitting an invoice for the work that they've completed. And then they wait, and then they wait, and they wait, and they wait. They're waiting to get paid. So we really focus on being able to live in that space, because on one hand, you've got the trades who need to know, what am I putting in my invoice? What actually did we do? What's completed to submit that? And then on the other side, you've got the contractors or the developers who need to agree to what is in the details of the invoice. So we kind of bring those two worlds together, because the industry suffers from 51 days on average to get paid. So 51 days, it's not 30, it's like 50 to 60 days realistically most of the time. And that really hurts a lot of the contracting companies. They're forced to take really bad financing terms and financing options because they're waiting on so many different projects for money to funnel back in. And yeah, it could be for their own operations. It could be for new projects and growth, but they just don't have the financial means to do it. So that's where we come in and help with the manual process, make those much faster, to make it easier for people to track information. And then we saw opportunity because we're able to offer them alternate financing on the approved work, which speeds up the payment cycles, keeps money moving. So with the click of a button, a contractor, owner, developer can approve something that's done. They can verify, they can see that whole stream of information and approve it, and they can give them different payment options and fair payment options to speed up those payments. And we just knew there had to be a better way. So that's really come full circle. The text message gets us to that end result, which is bettering the ecosystem and the payment ecosystem.
Yeah, it's amazing because I have heard of so many instances where, as you said, cash flow management is just such an important piece of making this business survive. And so many people actually, how do I say this, getting access to what I would call predatory loans and really having to get their next client in order to keep their business afloat. So it's quite a stressful, I'd say, obviously period for the subcontractors and contractors as well. I wanted to kind of like ask, you mentioned that there's obviously a 6% adoption rate of technology in construction. So I'm curious to see, obviously during the pandemic, you've made some pivots in terms of expanding your product and going into new markets as well. How has going remote in the last year like really changed, I guess, how tech adoption is I guess progressing in the construction industry? And do you see now your users, I guess, like really kind of adopting technology more readily in what they're doing?
Yeah, no, it's so true. I think in so many industries with the pandemic, but before, a lot of progress updates before COVID were people flying all around the country, all around North America, maybe to see things in person, to just like verify with their eyes and see the progress. Of course, physical construction, you need people there to do that. But I think that it's really unnecessary to have all these people, project managers and operation people, to be constantly flying, like for their own time, financially. And I actually spoke to a quantity surveyor that we work with here last week, and she was saying that she used to travel to all the East Coast, the Maritimes, all the time to get this information. But she said she only goes within Halifax now, that all of her clients and her have agreed to do things through Zoom and remote, and it saves them a ton of money and just a ton of time. So I think that we've really gotten smarter about how we value time and money in construction. And also, it's just the inefficiencies, I think, are just so much more clear now. And I think that it's a great thing that's happened because so many people just have a new willingness to change or to try new things, which I think is exciting. And I think it's just a great opportunity for us to all learn about, like, how do we actually manage time and how do we actually value certain tasks or processes now compared to before. And I think that's definitely something in the construction industry. People are more willing to be open to change, which is great.
Yeah, it's really incredible what being home for 18 months plus does, particularly when we think about these processes that are like inherently in person and physical. Like, people are used to walking onto a construction site and seeing things happen in real time, but obviously the processes that come after that are can be quite cumbersome and cause all sorts of delays. On the topic of construction tech and valuing time and prop tech generally, are you excited about any particular innovations in the industry? Is there anything that you've seen in the market? I mean, it's great for us, like we have an East Coast, co-founder with us today. So is there anything that you're seeing in the market that has piqued your interest?
I like this question. I think for me personally, anything to do with design still really amazes me. And I think there's so many fabulous softwares and things out there, and like never before we're able to visualize spaces and see space planning and interact with it. And I think it's really fun. And especially when you consider the real estate market, the rental market, people are buying things or selling things sight unseen. So they rely on these kind of virtual 3D modeling. I just think that is like, I just am always amazed in how much how interesting that is and how far those types of things have come. So I would say like, that's my favorite thing. Favorite tools for sure.
I feel like we'll never be able to take the designer out of you, which is great. Goes really well for systems design and growing companies. So I really like how transferable that skill set is. So I guess moving more towards entrepreneurship based, we have a lot of members that listen to stories from our founders so they can learn from your experiences as well. And we want to be like just as real as possible in these conversations. So I guess starting off on your entrepreneurship journey, like what has been the hardest or the most unexpected part about taking the entrepreneurship path?
Well, I think there's so many hard parts, which I don't think is a surprise to anyone. It's definitely not for everyone. And I think over the years, we've been, almost around for 6 years. It's taken a lot of time to kind of like change and adapt and have an openness to different skills and being agile, I think, and just open-minded is like so important. You can't get too focused on one thing, or I worked so hard on this and now we're shifting and trying this. You have to really just see like this big, big, big picture. And no one has, certainly I do not, but no one has all the answers. You need to figure out ways to get the answers you need. That's like the hardest part, is like, how can I talk to people? How do I talk differently to people? Because this didn't work. So I think that just being determined and digging, and that's not easy and it's not for everyone, but it's really through those discoveries and conversations where all that magic happens. And that's definitely like the most important thing, and how I value my own growth is just like trying and learning, and kind of like, you know, trying to stay in the line somehow.
That's great. I mean, you say all of those things, and in the back of my head, I'm thinking Proptech Collective. I'm thinking about members and how they work together as a community, and it's collective to help each other, support each other, particularly on the path of entrepreneurship. We're very fortunate in Toronto. Obviously, the tech ecosystem here is growing quite rapidly, and there are a number of resources for entrepreneurs that are getting started. Perhaps you could tell us a bit about what's happening on the East Coast, because I think, you know, not to say that we're stranded in Toronto, but I think with everyone being virtual, it's a little bit harder to get the sense of what's happening out there. And it sounds like, I mean, with Harbr and a few other companies I've seen as of late, there's some exciting stuff out there.
It's so interesting because before COVID, I had gone to Toronto for a few different female in tech, or, you know, just different conferences and stuff. And I felt like everyone knew each other, which was funny because I'd been in this ecosystem a few years, but I didn't know. Everyone kind of knows each other in Toronto. So it's nice that we're able to, expand on this platform and kind of tell you what exciting things happening here. But definitely 5-6 years ago, I was not aware for sure of the tech ecosystem really at all here prior to meeting Dave and starting Harbr. But I don't think as many people would say that now, because there are a lot more companies here. People are reading about them. There's so many job opportunities, and the ecosystem is just growing. We've got Volta, who houses different tech startups at different stages. So we've got them, and a lot of people are familiar with their new location downtown here in Halifax. So I think it's definitely growing and evolving, and it's just the beginning for Halifax. I think you're going to see, like, remote work is so more in reach now that people are able to maybe even live in Toronto or live in Halifax now and have these exciting jobs. So I know it's great. I'm super proud to be, you know, based here in Halifax, and we'd love to always be based here too.
That's great. It's it's fantastic for me. It's incredibly interesting, only because so often we are dealing with companies that are coming through Ontario and mostly in Toronto or just outside of Toronto. I guess jumping on the theme of like growth and presence in the East Coast, what's top of mind for you as you grow your business, I guess, into the remainder of 2021, which is kind of scary to think, but perhaps, you know, end of 2021 and looking to next year?
I know, when I was reviewing these like topics, I was thinking, oh my gosh, yeah, we're almost done this year, which is absolutely so insane to me. I think we're definitely focused on growth internally, some hiring, growth that way, and then just trying to get as many subcontractors on the platform as possible, so everyone can kind of have new opportunities and opportunity to improve the construction industry. The whole payment ecosystem is huge, because we know that needs a lot of improvement. And just focusing on hiring and growth is definitely like front of mind for our team.
So with that in mind, I guess the ask, I can imagine what they are, but what is your ask for the Proptech Collective community, and how can we help support your journey?
Well, I think, like, we're having this conversation here. I love to continue conversations with people. If there's anyone listening that, you know, wants to just learn more or thinks that they can help, I think that's always really beneficial. Like you said, this is a community. I look at construction like a community. It takes everyone from an area to come in and to build and do their job. So I think it's really important in life, period, to be able to just ask questions and help people where you can. So if anyone wants to learn more about being a beta tester with Harbr, trying out some of our new products, or innovation I can't talk now, an innovation partner. Yeah, I'm happy to chat and just kind of learn more about what you do, and I can share more. And I think that's really important. And of course, yeah, hiring, if there's folks out there who have a bit of a finance background or a technical background kind of on the finance side, we're looking to fill those roles here soon.
That's amazing. We'll put the ask out there. You know how it is. I believe that once you put stuff out in the world, they will come back to you. So hopefully we'll be able to make some of those connections. On the topic of community, I think there's one piece that I think really brings the community together, and that is basically building trust and also just learning to more about those members. So we haven't told you this, but we do something at the end of every single podcast where we'll have a list of rapid fire questions to just ask you about you. So I'll kick it off. Don't be stressed. This is really fun, but I'll kick it off with the first one. So what is a book that you always recommend?
Oh, right now it would be Atomic Habits. I'm obsessed with that book.
Great book.
I just bought it for my brother. I want to gift it to everyone.
I have about half an hour left on my audiobook right now for Atomic Habits, so I support.
My friend is listening. She has the audiobook too, which I might have to, if I need some more motivation later, I'll do it that way.
That's awesome. The next place you'll go internationally on a trip, or your top destination that you're thinking of right now?
Oh, I would say Italy. Somewhere in Europe would be a dream right now.
Wine and food. I like that. If you can time travel, where and when would you go?
If I could time travel, do I have to go back in time or forward in time?
You can choose.
I don't know. I feel like I would go maybe like 10 years into the future and just kind of like see if there's any lessons that I need to correct things. I would not want to go back to the past. I feel like when things happen, that's over. Go forward is better.
Nice. Why don't you tell us an interesting thing about you that sort of isn't on your resume, isn't on LinkedIn, not readily available online?
Not readily available online. Oh my goodness. Well, I grew up in a very, very, very small town. And I've talked about this before as like jokingly to friends, but in high school, in my yearbook, it said, what are you most likely, like what you're going to be voted as in the future, what you'll be. And mine said I would be the next female Donald Trump, which was before he became the president. So I was like, oh, does this now mean I'm going to be, anyways, I just think that is the most hilarious thing. I don't know why I was voted as that, but I think it's absolutely hilarious.
That is really funny.
That is really funny.
Maybe like I like the real estate side of things and stuff now, but everything else like that's happened in the more recently, I'm like, oh God.
Yeah, like I want to let go of this label.
We won't hold it against you. We won't hold it against you.
All right, last question. So if you haven't or hadn't launched Harbr, what would you be doing?
I would definitely still be in this space, like not the technical side of things, but definitely in construction. My husband's family's business is still going. His family, a good portion of them still are involved. I think that would have kind of just like naturally progressed into our future as well, because they're, building a ton of buildings right now. That's just the nature of the world. So I think we would have still been in that kind of like design development space. So still in that realm, just a bit different now.
Yeah, I feel like you guys are going to be so busy. I think Canada is really behind on supply. So yeah, I think we'll be in this industry for a longer time to come. But anyway, thank you so much, Ashley, for your time. It was an absolute pleasure to get to know more about you. And many thanks again to Kenda and Dentons for helping bring the Spotlight series to life. For all our listeners, if you share the same values, have an active interest in building up your professional network in the Proptech ecosystem, and to continue your learning, we really encourage you to become an official member of Proptech Collective. So please make sure to check out our website. And also, Ashley, where can people find more about you?
I would say the best place is on LinkedIn. I'm on there all the time. So you can find me at Ashley Kielbratowski on there. And then you can email me if you want at ashley@harbr.com.
Awesome.
Thanks so much, and hope you all have a great day.